All right, everyone. Once again, welcome to today's webinar. Good morning to all those joining us from the U.S. Good evening to all those joining us from Europe, and good afternoon, good night, wherever you guys are. Today's topic is the Audit Survival Guide. A very important topic, as you all know, that at some point or the other during a production, in a production house, you will be audited, and it's not easy going through an audit. So this webinar will focus on how we can help you pass those audits. With that said, I'm your host, Syed Abidi, one of the applications engineer at Associated Research, and we're live here from Lake Forest, Illinois. Also joining us and helping us today are Anthony Arroyo, who's another applications engineer. He will be helping us in answering any questions on the chat line.
My audio cut out for a second.
And then we have Allison. As always, she's our organizer. She's the one who's going to make sure this webinar is running smoothly, and I'm doing a good job. So as always, let's look at some of our webinar notes. As you already know, those who have joined us before, we have a Q&A facility or utility where you can ask us questions on the chat line on the material being presented, and any questions relating to the running of the meeting. If you're having audio or video issues, please feel free to address them to Allison through the chat line. Again, this webinar is being recorded and will be available to view shortly on our website. And any other questions, or if you'd like to have a copy of this presentation, you can email Allison at allison.oba@arisafety.com. So with that said, we're going to jump right into the material that we're trying to cover today. And here's a quick glance. First of all, this is our second last webinar of this year. So all those who've been following us, that's great. This is another great one, and hopefully it'll be helpful. And for those who haven't been able to join us in the past webinars, all our webinars are recorded and are available to view on our website. And if you need information on that, feel free to email us. So today's topic is Audit Survival Guide. How do you survive an audit? Again, we're going to start by looking at what are auditors looking for. I'm sure most of you who have been through an audit and have been a part of the audit at your company have a pretty good idea of what auditors are looking for, and some of the things that we're going to cover are test instruments, inspection for functionality, instrument verification, calibration, safety of test stations and safe work practices, software verification, and most importantly for some companies, IQOQ, which is a qualification procedure, and we'll go into some details about that, and we're going to look at how we can help. So, and then we're going to start looking at how do you survive this audit? How can you be prepared? How can we help you? We're going to talk about some items that we can assist you with, such as some verification methods, calibration, and then lastly, we're going to introduce you to our very new program that we're working on. It's called the ARS Consultation Program. And as we progress, we will go into details about that program, and then we're going to ask you a few poll questions as we move on, just to get an opinion on how, what do you think about audits, and how, whether this webinar or the information we're going to provide will be helpful for you going forward when you're dealing with audits. So first of all, what happens during an audit? When you're getting audited, there's a lot of things the auditor may be looking at, depending on, auditors from different agencies that look for different items. For example, if an auditor from UL is visiting a company, they may be looking for production capacity, meaning that, what is the overall capacity of production, and are the instruments qualified and okay for this kind of facility or production. Process controls, proper processes and procedures should be in place for your production or testing. Material parameters, preventive maintenance, rework, assembly process, storage and handling, health and safety. Again, if it's an OSHA auditor, their primary focus would be on safety. How is the test station being set up? How safe is it for the user and everyone around them? And then they may also look into automation and see how you are automating your setup. Is the software doing what it's doing? You may be asked to provide a lot of documents of your internal qualification procedures, your calibration certificates, how do you verify, and those are some of the things that we're going to look into, and then we're going to see how can we assist. So let's going through these bullet points. Electrical safety test setup and procedure can be very complex. Obviously, being in this industry, we have seen very complex applications with multiple test instruments or compliance analyzers being hooked up with other instruments such as power sources, scanning matrices, and whatnot, all sorts of verification devices. So that can make a test setup or test station very complex, meaning that it may have a lot of wires going from one instrument to the other. A lot of details need to be looked at, and the auditor will look at all those minute details, and they will need some kind of evidence or proof that whatever you're doing is making sense and it's per the standards. So everything must be in accordance with the standards. Now that could be safety standards, your test standards, etc. They may also look at your equipment validation. How did you validate your equipment? And like I said, we're going to talk about those qualification processes, installation qualification, operation qualification, and procedure qualification. And then the auditor may also look at safety guidelines. Are you following all the safety guidelines for example, OSHA standards? Is the test station set up in a safe manner, which is safe for the operator and everybody around in the area? Software validation, is the software doing what it's supposed to do? Is it accurate? And is the data being collected, stored in a manner that's based on the standards? And most importantly, if the operators are educated enough. So now this kind of ties in with how we can help you guys, because being the electrical safety experts, we have the knowledge to help you set up safe workstations and take all the safety precautions, and we can provide all sorts of training, which is very important, because only a trained operator should be allowed to use test instruments that are that can output high amounts of current and voltages. So again, this all kind of leads us to the fact that getting audited is not an easy thing. It's a tedious process, and it is always best to be as prepared as you can be. Now, things do come up during audit that you cannot, you couldn't think of ahead of time, but whatever we can cover, we should be prepared for that. So with that said, there's 3 most important things that the auditor will be looking into. Again, we're going to try and emphasize as much as we can on the points that the auditors are going to be looking at, and how we can help you pass those audits. First up, safety. Now, this kind of mostly falls under the OSHA guidelines and the European norm standards that dictate safe work practices. There are standards that are only focusing on how to set up a safe workstation. Operator training. What is a trained operator versus an untrained operator? What kind of precautions must an operator take? So all those details are in standards, and there are multiple standards that are emphasizing on these details. So now if the OSHA, for example, the OSHA auditor comes in and looks at the safety side of your things, how safe is the workstation, and how closely are you following the safe work practices. If not, you could be written up, you could be fined, litigation, possible injury or fatality, because if you are not following safety guidelines, accidents happen, and they have happened. And I'm going to give you an example once we go talk more about safety of a recent inquiry that our applications team and as a whole company, we've been looking into, where some operators were getting shot. So accidents do happen, and safety, again, it's not only to pass audits, but it's also for protection of whoever is involved with the safety testing part. Next is validation. Now, what validation really means is ensuring a system is functioning with stated specifications. So obviously, before a system is put into place, or before somebody decides that this is the piece of equipment that's going to fit our needs, there is a whole procedure that you have to go through, kind of compare your requirements versus what the safety analyzer or test instruments are capable of, and making a decision whether to go with a certain brand or company or a product. Now, if the validation procedure, now that's just the beginning of the validation procedure. It's pretty tedious, and we will cover some details about it. But if the validation procedure is not done properly, product may not be properly tested, and that can further lead to product recalls, lawsuits. Could be, your products may cause injuries to the end user, which can be a huge issue. And we know companies have have been written up and sued over accidents, or when the end user got injured using somebody's products. That company has to go through a lot of trouble, and it could be as bad as shutting down completely. So again, validation is something very important, and we will show you how we can help you with that. And lastly, education. Again, obviously everything is based on training, education of the task that you are assigned. In this case, electrical safety testing. Now, electrical safety testing, even though it is safety testing of other products, there are multiple safety precautions, or many safety precautions that are necessary for all those that are involved with electrical safety testing, to ensure that they are safely performing these test procedures and following proper testing protocols, and everyone around them is safe, and they're testing the products as they're supposed to be tested. What are the implications for failure? Well, you can lose a safety mark, product recall, possible litigation if the end user gets injured. So safety, validation, and education, these are, I would say, some key terms that are very important to keep in mind before you're getting audited, and as you prepare for your audits. These are 3 very key points that you want to make sure you're fully covered. So with that, it leads us to our first poll question, which is, how confident would you feel if you were to get audited today? Take a few minutes, please, and provide us with your feedback, and we will be right back.
Good morning, everybody. This is Allison. Thank you all for participating in our poll question this morning. How confident would you feel if you were to get audited today? As our results are coming in, I'm going to go ahead and close the poll, and we have highly confident attendees with us today. 80% of you said that you would be confident if you were audited today. 7% say they're unsure, and 13% say they're not very confident. So hopefully we will be able to help everyone this morning. Thank you all for participating.
All right, thank you everyone for taking part in our first poll question, and the results are most of you, a majority of you, which is 80%, feel pretty confident about your audits, which is great to hear. We have 7% that are unsure and 13% that are not confident. So hopefully this webinar, at the end of this webinar, you will feel a little bit more confident and be able to utilize some of the services that we are ready to provide to help you with gaining more confidence in your audits. So with that said, let's start looking into some of the most important things that the auditors will be asking you for or may want to look into, and what you need to be prepared with. First of all, calibration. Now, what is calibration? Basically, calibration is what verifies if a test instrument is functioning properly and within specifications. Now, obviously, all pieces of electronics, especially electronics that are used in test labs or metering instruments, must be calibrated to certain standards for accuracy and precision. We, as a manufacturer of electrical safety test instruments, we recommend annual calibration of our test instruments. Now, there are some users of our instruments, could be medical customers or other industries that are more strict when it comes to calibration, and they have chosen to go with 6-monthly calibration, meaning that they're going to get their instruments calibrated twice with us. Then the other thing the auditor will ask you is data or proof of calibration. Now that comes with calibration certificates, before and after data of your instruments, accredited calibration with measurement data and uncertainty, traceable to NIST. All these services, these are available, and the data sheets for calibration are something that provide all the data points, and the auditor can look at all the data points and see all those different areas of an equipment were calibrated to the standard and are meeting the standard, and they pass the calibration. The auditors will ask you for an actual copy or the certificate of calibration depending on the auditor. Some auditors are very detail-oriented and they want to look at each and everything, whereas some can just look at the calibration certificate or a sticker or something and pass that part of the audit. But what we have available in terms of how we can help you with this is Associated Research offers, it's a fully certified Cal lab, and we have different calibration services that we offer, which includes accredited calibration and calibration per certain different types of standards such as ISO 17025 and ANSI Z540.1 CTL spec sheet, and then Denon's law. And all these services are offered on most of our instruments, and we provide all the data sheets and uncertainty measurements that if they're needed by the auditor. So keep in mind, do check out our website, our calibration page, and you will get more details about this. The next big thing is instrument verification. Now, in the past, we have we have done webinars that were dedicated on instrument verification, and if you review some more details about verification, you're welcome to look at our archive webinars. But what is verification? We're just going to touch briefly on what is verification. An electrical safety test is only as good as the test instrument itself, meaning that if the instrument is not functioning properly, the test instrument, then any test or any products tested using that piece of equipment will not be a valid test, and it can result in false passes, and may pass products that were not supposed to pass, that were faulty, had some kind of issue, or were a source of, it could be a source of injury to the end user, but they got passed because the instrument was not verified for proper functionality. Verification is a simple way of checking if the failure detectors of an instrument are working correctly. Now again, this is not a very detailed process. It's as simple as taking a load, a known load for example, or known resistor value, and dropping a voltage across it and looking at the data or the measured current, and then you can do the calculation by hand and then compare that to the measured result and see how close or how accurately is it being measured and whether it's passing and failing when it should. In the past, there was never any emphasis on instrument verification. However, we have seen, being in the industry, we have seen a slight change in trend where some standards are actually starting to talk about verification, and there's some UL standards or some excerpts in the standards that talk about verification of test instruments. Now, verification could be, it could be a daily routine or daily practice. It could be more than once a day, for example, before every shift. And some people like to verify an instrument. We've run into applications where customers perform the verification test on their test equipment anytime they use it. So every time they power it on, they run a verification test just to get a peace of mind that the instrument that they're about to use or for testing is functioning properly. How can we help with you guys with this verification procedure? We have solutions for different types of verification for different types of tests, and these solutions come in the form of our test verification boxes, the TVB2 and the LVB2. Firstly, the TVB2 box, and again, more details are available on our website. If you go into our product page, you can download a spec sheet and get more details, but I'm just going to quickly go over how these boxes can be used, these verification boxes can be used. And right now we're looking at the TVB2, the test verification box, which is meant to perform verification testing on a ground continuity ground bond tester, withstand AC or DC withstand tester, and insulation resistance tester. And as you can see in the picture, there's multiple ports for connection of high voltage or high current outputs from an electrical safety test instrument, and then there's a common return point, and there's a port for pass and fail with the some known resistor values and maximum voltage and current values. So basically, just for a quick example, the way this box will work is, for example, if you're trying to verify a high pot tester, AC or DCW tester, what you'll do is you'll take, there's going to be two tests, a fail and a pass verification. You're going to take your high voltage lead and connect that to the fail side and the return to the return on this TVB box, and set up the parameters accordingly. The spec sheet specifies all the appropriate parameters that are allowed to be used, and a simple pass-fail verification can be achieved by performing the actual tests. And in the end, you will see that the fail, if you are seeing a fail when you're testing for failure, that means your instrument is catching those failures as it should. And when you do a pass verification, that means the instrument is catching or passing products when it should. Similarly, for other test types, the other important thing to know about this is that I know a lot of people run their own verification using their own load boxes and just straight up resistors. However, the one thing to keep in mind about this box is, or the other box that we're going to talk about, are that these both are CE listed. So now if an auditor comes in and asks you, how did you perform verification testing, you can either show your own hand-built loads, and if the auditor is okay with it, you'll pass. But some auditors need to look at whether the load box that you use, was it CE listed, or did it have some sort of certification? And that, again, this goes back to the requirements of the standard that the auditors are looking at. And some auditors may let you go with a hand-built resistor load bank, but in this case, this box is CE listed, so the auditor will have confidence that this box is made for a purpose, and it has passed and it's complying with the standards. So that makes life easier for you guys and the auditor. The next box we have available is the line leakage verification box. Again, same kind of concept, a pass-fail verification for different types of line leakage tests. Again, this is CE listed as well. It's got different probe configurations, and again, it will work with line leakage or leakage current test instruments that are built by Associated Research. Not just Associated Research, but you can use it with other instruments as well, as long as you provide the appropriate connections. So this box, again, the previous one, the TVB and the LVB, they're both meant to be used with Associated Research in test instruments. However, they can also be used with other instruments as well, or other brands. However, we definitely recommend you use these with our instruments. The next thing we're going to look at, or what the auditor will look at, especially if it's an OSHA auditor, is a safe workstation. Now, again, like I said, there are standards, full standards that talk about erecting a safe workstation and operator training, safe work practices. So utilizing safe workstations and safe work practices is essential to operator safety. We all know that, and we all agree with that. An auditor may want to make sure necessary safety precautions are in place, okay? And then there are standards in place that focus primarily on setting up a safe workstation, like BS or EN 50191 is one example of setting up a safe workstation, and there's many other OSHA standards. And the way we can help you set up a safe workstation is through our knowledge of dealing with these kind of situations where our customers have asked us for help in setting up a safe workstation, and we have documents, we have very good recommendations, and our applications team is highly trained and knowledgeable about standards that call for safe workstation and safe work practices. So this is how we can help you in terms of providing and sharing the knowledge or training you in setting up a safe workstation. We have training and programs or a lot of recommendations based on guidelines from the standard. One example I want to share with you all is something that we have been recently dealing with. Is one of our customers was experiencing some problems where using our instruments, some of their operators were getting shocked, and this is a very rare thing that we've seen somebody getting shocked using our instruments. So we did take this very seriously, and we started investigating. We asked for videos of the test station setup and pictures of how things were set up. And once we received those pictures, after looking at their test setup videos and pictures, we discovered that this customer were in direct violation of one of the OSHA standards. I think it was OSHA 1910, which is meant for occupational safety. OSHA stands for Occupational Safety and Health Administration, and OSHA 1910 talks about setting up safe workstations. So these guys were in direct violation. We looked at their test setup, and we could see that they had exposed live conductors that were not protected, that were not inside an enclosure, and the operator was sitting very too close to it to be in touch. And we figured out that it's not our test instrument that were the source of electric shock to the operator. Instead, it was the test setup, the test station setup, which was very unsafe. And so as we move on, we're working with these guys, and we're recommending safe workstation setup practices and safe work practices in general. So this is how we can help, purely based on our knowledge of these kind of dealing with these kind of situations. And we have people who've been in the industry for very long, and they have a very good idea of these kind of things, how things need to be in a safety testing environment. One example is the picture shown at the bottom of the slide is showing some a safe workstation setup, showing minimum clearance distances between a test station and other people in the area and the facility. The operator is standing on a safety mat. The instrument being tested is inside an enclosure. There's a e-stop switch, warning signs, signal tower light. So all these things are based right out of the safety standards, and it's very essential that all of us follow these recommendations, because these can be, if we are not following these properly, OSHA can write us up, and it has happened in the past. Again, safe work practices are equally important. Obviously, setting up a safe workstation is a part of safe work practices. All manufacturers utilizing electrical safety test instruments have some sort of internal safety procedures. Now, I know I've visited companies that have their own safety procedures in place, and that's very good to see. And it's going to save them from being written up by OSHA someday. Associated research, product manuals contain all the necessary warnings and cautions for user protection. That's why we, as a manufacturer of electrical safety test instruments, if you've read through our product manuals, you'll see that we have all sorts of warning and cautions, and those are from the standard, from TUV and all the standards that our instruments comply with. We have included each and every warning and all the necessary information that you need to know as a end user of our products, what kind of capabilities this instrument has and what dangers that can it possess if not used in the right manner. We also have, so how can we help you with safe work practices? Well, obviously our manual is a big resource. Then we have available and some personal protective equipment, such as warning signs. Some of those were shown in the picture previously, and if you are interested in looking at more, our website is the best resource. And then we provide, being the manufacturer of the instrument, we are the ones who know our instruments the best, and we can provide the best training on our instruments when it comes to how to best utilize our instruments in a safe and efficient manner. So with that said, I think it's time for one more poll question. And if you can take a few minutes to answer this.
All right, everyone, for our second poll question of the morning, we asked, how confident are you in your organization's qualification procedures? I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. And 31% of you this morning said that you're very confident in your organization's qualification procedures. 62% say somewhat confident, and 8% say not confident at all. Thank you again for participating.
Okay, well, thanks again for taking time out and answering these poll questions. It gives us very good information. And as I can see from the results that Alison announced, 31% said very confident, 62%, which is the majority here, says somewhat confident, and the rest were, not confident at all, 8%. So this means there is some potential for us to help you out with these qualification procedures, especially if you are using our instruments. Again, being the manufacturer, we can help you run through or work through these qualification procedures, because in some industries such as medical or healthcare industry, these qualification procedures that we're going to be discussing now are very, very important, and these are basically for quality assurance, but the auditors will or may ask you to share these procedures with them, and they can take a look at them and see if you are indeed using proper procedures, and how did you qualify a piece of equipment or instrument, how did you meet all the requirements, and whether it's the best fit for your application, is it doing what it's doing. So those kind of things the auditors can ask you, and we as the manufacturer have a lot of knowledge about our instruments, and we can provide you or share with you a lot of different features and important points that you need to look at when it comes to our instruments. So with that said, let's talk about a little bit about qualification procedures, because then this will lead us into introducing you to our services that we're working on and we're planning to offer in terms of consultation when it comes to qualification procedures. So qualification procedures are an integral part of any organization when they acquire new test instruments. Again, to some industries this is very important or more important than the others, because they are required to run, through these qualification procedures. These procedures are normally very detail-oriented and time-consuming. Now, the fact that a piece of electrical safety test instrument is a complex piece of equipment with it could have many different features, bells and whistles. So all those features and all the functionality, needs to be documented, and for records, for keeping records, and when the time comes, you should be ready to share them with the auditor. Organizations performing these procedures look for help from instrument manufacturers as their best resource. That's what I've been emphasizing on, that we, being the manufacturer, will be your best resource to help you run through these qualification procedures and make these easier for you. With our consultation program that we're going to talk about briefly, we can assist our customers with their qualification procedures, and we can help make your IQ, OQ, and PQ rather simple. So with that said, let's kind of go over what is what is IQ, OQ, and PQ. What are these procedures and what do they do? What are they meant for? So basically, for industries that are involved in, say, pharmaceutical or healthcare or medical products, or even labs, product quality is paramount to these industries, and minute inconsistencies, for example, can have disastrous results in the end if these qualification procedures were not performed properly. So I know I mentioned IQ, which is the short for installation qualification. Then we have OQ, which is operational qualification. And then lastly, we have PQ, which is performance qualification. All these procedures, qualification procedures, are an essential part of quality assurance, through equipment validation. So let's kind of go into a little bit of detail of what these are. IQ, OQ, and PQ protocols, basically, these are ways of establishing that a piece of equipment which is being used or installed in a facility will offer a high degree of quality assurance, so that manufacturing processes will consistently produce products that meet predetermined quality requirements. Now, that's a very important point. This is why these procedures are in place. Now, to understand these terms better, let's kind of look at each of them one by one. And again, if you need more information on this, you can feel free to email us. I'll be happy to assist you with these procedures. But let's look at installation qualification. What is IQ? Well, any new equipment, when it's purchased, or before even purchasing, any new equipment is first validated to check if it is indeed capable of producing the desired results through design qualification. That's another qualification type of procedure, design qualification, and with that, it's included in the installation qualification. But its performance in a real-world scenario depends on the IQ. Okay, so DQ is design qualification when you're, kind of deciding what's the best fit. Now, once you decide, you move into the installation qualification, where the instrument or equipment being qualified, as well as all its subsystems. Because tests, instruments or test setups, systems can be very, contain multiple testing equipment. So as well as its subsystems and any ancillary systems have been delivered, installed, and configured in accordance with the manufacturer's specifications or installation checklists. Again, now this is where we come in. As a manufacturer, we will have all that information for you, and we would be your best resource. Then the next qualification procedure is called OQ, which is Operational Qualification. And what happens during, and obviously this comes after installation qualification. When you're done with that, you move into OQ. Now, once each protocol of the installation qualification IQ phase has been met, OQ, which is Operational Qualification, is performed to check that the instrument's performance is consistent with the user requirement specification or within the manufacturer's specified operating ranges. During the OQ phase, all the items in the test plans are tested individually. So now this is where the instruments are actually being tested and their performance is documented. Now, documentation of these procedures is very essential for internal use as well as sharing with the auditor. Now, this is sort of a prerequisite, and from our experience so far in helping customers, our end users with these procedures or processes, this is a prerequisite for technical acceptance of the equipment and the facility. So it can only be performed once the IQ has been successful. So obviously, it's a step-by-step process. It starts with the DQ, which is design qualification, and then you move into IQ and then OQ, and all these have to pass and or have to meet certain standards in order to move to the next part of the qualification procedure. Now, in some cases, apart from qualification after the initial installation, there may be a need of requalification that needs to be carried out after any major work or modifications have been made to the instrument as a part of a regular quality assurance schedule, meaning that, for example, in our instruments, if we come up with a new firmware and if you decide to get that firmware installed on your, or get all your test instruments updated with that firmware, you may need to run through a requalification, which is not as tedious, but you still have to do the Q part of the qualification to to help you with the keeping up to date with your IQ OQ procedures. And then lastly, we have what's called PQ, which is Performance Qualification. This is the final step in qualification process for equipment, and this is the step which involves verifying and documenting that the equipment is working reproducibly within a specified working range, meaning that you can keep running the instrument and keep reproducing the same results consistently without having any problems. That's what's done in PQ, your performance qualification. Now, rather than testing each instrument individually, which was done previously in the OQ part, the test system is tested all together as a part of a partial or overall process. So once you have a test system consists of multiple subsystems. Now, when all those are combined, that forms a big test system. In performance qualification, the full test system, fully assembled, is tested. Now, before the qualification begins, a detailed test plan needs to be created and based on the process description. So now this is why this is where we're going to start looking into or introduce our consultation services program that we have been working on, and it's due to be released or open for customer use in the first quarter of 2017. That's the plan so far. Obviously, if everything goes okay, we should be able to meet that not deadline, but the date that we've decided to go live with that program. Now, again, just to emphasize a little bit more on qualification of equipment, equipment qualification through these different processes that we talked about, IQ, starting with DQ, IQ, OQ, or PQ practice, these are all considered a part of good manufacturing practice, GMP. I'm sure a lot of you may have heard this term GMP, and it's commonly used in the industry, through which manufacturers and labs or laboratories can ensure that their equipment delivers consistent quality. It reduces the margin for errors, and So the product quality can be maintained within the industry standards and or regulatory authority requirements. This is where your auditors coming in can ask you, how did you perform your qualification procedures, what were your resources, and how well did you perform those, and are your instruments or test instruments that you qualified indeed um, qualified to be used in your or for your application in your industry. So with that said, we can help make your IQ, OQ, and all these different qualification procedures simple with our consultation program. And here's a quick glimpse to this, and Allison will put up a link for, if you need more details on these. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to email us, and we'll be happy to assist you or answer any questions regarding the applications consultation program that we are coming up with and working on. Again, it's a work in progress, but we have done most of the groundwork, and we're just preparing ourselves to go live with this program. So just to take a quick look at the program, it's going to be divided into a couple of different plans. We'll have a starter plan. Now again, I don't want to sound like as if I'm trying to sell this or salesy, but we have to make you aware that we have services available that can help you with these audits. Obviously, these services, this is consultation, and it takes time for us to help you, but there is help available. That's the most important thing to know here. So the plan is divided into different sub-plans, starting with the starter plan, which is almost like an online tool, and it's like a 90-minute consultation. What we can do is we can look at, we can get all the information from you. If you choose to go with this package or this starter plan, we will look at, we will ask you to provide us all your test requirements. What are you trying to achieve? What's the purpose of your testing, and what are your goals? And then we can recommend the most suitable instruments for your application. We can do a live consultation, a Skype call or whatever, a live video call with you to answer any questions that you have. We can also prepare a customized webinar for you. If you choose to go with a certain piece of test instrument, we will, if things work out well, we can ask you to send us your product if it's not too big to be shipped. We can have that product in our lab. We can set it up and we can test it out for you. We can go through the standard, and we can help you what tests or read the standard and understand the standard, because based on our knowledge of standards, and we can assist you in finding the right equipment, and then we can assist you how to best utilize that equipment. How do you use that equipment to test your product? So that's just like a basic starter package, but then we have a professional plan that we're looking into that includes training and validation. Now, the reason I wanted to mention this is because we did talk about validation, which involves all those qualification procedures. So, and again, as we know, those procedures can be tedious, very time consuming, and it is something that people struggle with at times if they don't have all the necessary information, and that's where we come in. If we can provide you with the training, we can help you with electrical safety testing workshop, we can provide you with all the education for setting up a safe workstation, we can train your operators on using our instruments, and then we can provide training certificates to your operators if that's what the auditors are looking for, to see whether the operators using our instruments are trained or not. They will have a certificate from us, from the manufacturer of the instrument, to satisfy that need if the auditor is indeed looking for that. And then we can have an audit training log, and most importantly, we can visit you, we can be on site with you guys, and we can help you run through the comprehensive validation procedures that we looked at, IQ, OQ, DQ. Obviously, DQ is something you will need to do. We can help you with the IQ and OQ and PQ part of it. We will have the experience and the knowledge of using our instruments, and we can create documents for you, and we can basically help you come up with an IQ document or a procedure while being on site, going through each and every feature of an instrument, how everything will be set up, and finally once everything is set up, we will be on site with you to run through some actual tests when you can connect your product that you want to test to our test system while we're there, and we can help you, run through those procedures and answer any question that you may have. So just as a part of, obviously this whole webinar is meant to help you survive an audit, and again we looked at some of the important points that any auditor would look at and how can we help you prepare for these kind of audits. And obviously, a lot of you seem to be pretty confident with your, if you were to get audited, but those who were not confident or unsure, they can definitely gain a lot out of all the services that we are here to offer, and all the help that we have available. So with that said, obviously this is not going to be a very long webinar. We're pretty much done here. We're going to leave the webinar open for any questions on the chat line, or any other way I can answer any questions. But before you guys leave, we have another poll question, which is our last poll question, and please take a few minutes to fill out these surveys.
Thank you all for participating in our final poll today. I am going to go ahead and close the poll, and thank you so much.
All right, thanks a lot again for joining us today for this very important webinar, and hopefully you have, this was helpful and you've been following our other webinars as well. If not, they're all recorded on our website, and you're welcome to use our website to access any of the previous webinars. Now, if you would like a copy of this presentation, please email Allison at the email address shown. And for other information, do check out our website, which is arisafety.com. We have a lot of knowledge resources on our website in terms of white papers, app notes, product specification sheets, and pretty soon we will have a page for our consultation program. Once we finalize some details, you will be able to look at all the details about our consultation program. And as an applications engineer, I'm heavily our entire team, including myself, we are heavily involved with this program, and we will be the one running the show when it comes to consultation, applications consultation, because of our experience and knowledge in dealing with these kind of situations. So if you have any other questions, you can email us, and Allison will forward your questions to the appropriate people, and your questions will be answered. And at this time, we're going to leave the webinar open for any questions. I want to thank you for joining us today, taking out time for this very important webinar. For all those who joined us from overseas, a big thank you. I know it's not the most appropriate time, but I see some of you are here with us. And again, for your colleagues who were not able to make it, feel free to let them know or share the presentation, slides with them. And our next webinar is Wednesday, November 9th, again at 10 a.m. U.S. Central Time, and the topic is 5 ways to set up a safe workstation. This is our last webinar of the year, and again, all these webinars are recorded, and if you want to follow them as a series, I would highly recommend, because we covered a lot of topics and test types and a lot of detail in the previous webinars. And the next one would be purely focusing on setting up a safe workstation, and we will kind of expand on some of the points that I touched on. So once again, great thank you for joining us, and I hope you guys have a great day. Be safe, and we're here to help, so feel free to reach out. This is your host, our presenter, Syed Abidi, signing off from Lake Forest, and I'll be online for a little bit more for any other questions, pending questions.